sure he was Norse pagan, but Birka made a trade with Christian areas in Europe, with Muslim areas in Middle East, with local Norse pagan areas, and probably with other areas also. So, King Björn of course understood the need to keep good contact with these areas. So he sent down 2 messengers to Emperor Louis the Pious of France. The French emperor agreed to the king's request. The request was to have a missionary here. The responsibility fell on Ansgar, who was a young monk from Bremen in present-day Germany. In the year 830 AD, Ansgar with his colleague Vitmar, they started traveling from Germany to Birka. Along the coast of southeast Sweden, poor Ansgar and Vitmar, they were attacked by Vikings. They lost their ship and their Bibles, and they were thrown into the Baltic Sea Ocean. But they survived and came here on foot. And according to the Ansgar Chronicle, written in the 9th century, they were well greeted and treated by King Björn. And they started a small Christian congregation down here in Birka. Ansgar stayed for 1.5 years. He went home to Germany, where he became bishop in Hamburg. Ansgar came back to Birka a second time in the year 850 AD, again staying 1.5 years for his congregation, and then returned home to Germany, where eventually he died of old age. Ansgar did not Christianize Birka. He did not Christianize Sweden for sure. This is quite a big country compared to the rest of Europe when you look area-wise. Small in population, big in area. Ansgar would never had the time to go around the country to Christianize people. I think he wouldn't have survived. In the 11th century, 200 years after Ansgar was here, we have a lot of Christian monks and priests from Germany and from England coming to Sweden, spreading Christianity. A lot of them die. They're simply too harsh in their straightforwardness, so they're killed, a lot of them, until eventually they move more gently, and that works better. The point is, Ansgar as a lone person in the 9th century wouldn't have survived, even if he would have tried. And I think the King Björn would not have allowed this. His place was here to make a Christian congregation, and that in turn to satisfy the needs of foreign Christian traders and merchants visiting Birka. That was the point of Ansgar's visit. We were not Christianized until around 1100 AD in Sweden, more than 200 years after the death of Ansgar. But he started the first Christian congregation we know of in this country, and that's why the Swedish church built the cross and the chapel in Ansgar's memory. The 3 kingdoms we call Sweden, Norway and Denmark did not really exist in the Viking Age. They are starting to form, but they are not the finished nation states with set borders that they became in the medieval times. So in the Viking Age, I would basically call Sweden a loosely tied together collection of its provinces. Do we have any Swedes here, by the way? Yes. Yeah, I would call it in Swedish Landskapsförbund. I have no better word for it, or I can't pronounce it in English really, but loosely tied together collection of various provinces and areas. This meant that the king could not sit in one place and say do this or do that. He would have to travel around to keep it tied together, yeah?